Welcome back to the More Than Logic podcast, where we connect you with entrepreneurs of all different levels. Quick shout out to Sessions by Pro Studio Namibia, our go-to production house for high quality and affordable podcasting. If you want to start your own podcast, just comment below or send us a DM on Instagram. Thank you. So now, back into the video. Today, I have one of the most exciting episodes I'm going to shoot. I'm very happy to be doing this one. I have one of the first people I could sort of call a mentor. He helped me get into business a little bit, a lot of advice and guidance when I really needed it in 2023. So I'm happy to be catching up with him. We have Elmar Burger. Did I say it right?
Yes, you
The
did.
burger always gets me. So yes, I will give you this opportunity to introduce yourself, please, Elmar.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Ignatius. It's like usually when I give out my email, it's like Elmar Burger. It's like KFC or McDonald's hamburger.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ignatius. Yeah, but a bit about me. I came from a law background.
Low.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
and in 2011 did my articles, and 2014 I started doing business rescue in South Africa, and then we did business rescue up until just after the pandemic, and then I moved back to Namibia and started doing it again. Yeah, I'm born and bred Namibian, so convinced my wife to move back to
Yeah.
move
Nice.
to Namibia. So that seems to be one of the national sports of Namibians. You go steal a wife somewhere else and you bring them back to Namibia.
That is actually so true. That is actually so true. And I see. It's kind of funny. It happens a lot with the Germans that come here as well.
Yeah,
they always
man.
find love here somehow.
Yes, no.
Yeah.
Well, what's that thing what they say about Namibia? You only cry twice. Once you arrive, once you leave.
Oh my God, Elmar. So what is business rescue? What is it?
So business rescue is a formal process in South Africa. It's part of their Chapter 6 of the Companies Act. And that provides the temporary management and supervision of a company or CC. So that it is a formalized legal vehicle that they've got. So the person that runs that process is called a business rescue practitioner, and his mandate is to supervise the company and then manage the company to, at the end of the day, revitalize it, bring it back to solvency, bring it back to liquidity, and try to repay the creditors. These are businesses that are usually, or 99%, they're distressed. They've got some cash flow problems. They've got problems repaying their creditors, and that's the role of the business rescue practitioner. He should be versed in management, the legal side, and the financials, and most of the time, just sorting out random issues. If it's from HR or ops or whatever, then you should be able to handle those problems. So that's something that's in South Africa. Now, business rescue as a formal vehicle isn't available yet in Namibia. There are some moves to change legislation and bring in new legislation to promulgate laws that enable business rescue in Namibia. But as of this stage, nothing's put in place formally. So Namibians are left with we're a bit behind the curve on that, in how to restructure businesses that are in trouble. At this stage, you don't have any formal tools. You're just left with negotiating actually, because a business rescue practitioner has a lot of legal tools that he can use. You can suspend contracts, you can compromise creditors, the amounts owing to them, and say, listen, creditors, you're only going to get 5 cents in the rand. So that means for every R1 you owe, you're only going to get 5 cents.
Yeah.
And, that's tough luck.
Oh.
And that's how we do it. But in Namibia, that's not available.
Yeah.
You still need to go and convince everybody that this is something that can work, and you have to negotiate. You don't have the heavy hammer that you can swing around.
Yeah, that might be useful. I think you're one of the only few people I would say gave me some advice that I've listened to and tried to keep close. Because I think, when it comes to advice, I normally prefer listening to people that have experience about what they're talking about. Otherwise, it's just guesswork. And I think the one thing I still remember that you told to me, I think last year, it was I was doing marketing at that point, when I was starting out, and I was sharing my successes with you, and then you always say good stuff. And then I wanted to do something else on the side. I don't even remember what it was. But then you say to me, Ignatius, if you spend 100 hours doing marketing versus what you're trying to do now, where would you be? And then I was like, if I do 100 hours doing this, I think I'll be finally able to do it, then I finally have the skills to enter the marketplace. And then I looked on the other side, I was like, but if I do 100 hours in marketing now, then that means I would have 5 to 10 clients. And just like that, you ended my whole argument with myself. And I think that's something also I've been trying to keep very close. I share it with my friends all the time whenever the opportunity comes. Even my dad, I remember once he wanted to start something else. I was like, no, you remember Elmar that I told you about? This is what he said to me. I don't know what you want to say, but it really shed some light on things. And I think, that was actually, thank you for that. It has guided me a lot.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
I'll send you the invoice.
Oh my God. Yeah. I also wanted to ask you, what's a nice story of your best negotiation, if you're able to share?
Well, we've had some wins, some large wins, and it's good to see that you can help clients and bring them back to profitability, but you also have some losses. This game isn't where you've got 100% success rate and you can do everything 100%, and then something just falls over and then the whole project collapses. Because you're dealing with so many variables and so many opinions and a lot of parties are involved. So, we've got some large successes, and we were a small niche business rescue firm in Pretoria. We had our quickest business rescue implementation was 1 day. We repaid about, I think it was 48 million in 1 day.
Sure.
But that 1 day was the implementation period, but it took 6 months to get that whole plan together, and I had to fight 6 or 7 creditors to get to that one point.
Planning for 6 months for just 1 day of glory.
Precisely, and so that was that was a success story that we could implement. Usually rescues take 2 to 3 years to implement, and we had it done very quickly. Then the biggest compromise that I had in terms of the amount people just accepted was we compromised down from 2.7 million to 8,000.
That is insane.
So
that is insane.
They just said, listen, okay, we'll take it.
Fine, just give us 1 month rent.
Yeah. So that was they said, listen, no, it's fine. We'll go for it. I'm not going to say who the party was, but yeah. So that's, and then you can actually see, if you're, we always had a golden rule. Retrenchments were the last option. That meant that you cut all other expenses before you go for retrenchments. Unfortunately, sometimes that was also your own fee, so that wasn't always beneficial to our company, but you still had some morals and things that you could not compromise on.
Yeah.
And the first thing that went usually was the directors X5s and
Yeah.
cut up their cards, and they were looking like, hey, this isn't what
Like,
we planned.
Now I have to drive taxis.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I drove about, I think it was 5 or 6 X5s in my life.
Oh, damn.
Not one of them my own.
Uh-huh.
Usually from the director
Yeah.
back to Westbank, saying,
Oh
listen,
my
here's the car back, thanks, cheers.
Like, oh, now you are putting me back in a Toyota.
Yes, it's time for the Camry.
Yeah. I actually quite like Toyota. Are you a Bucky or...
No, I'm a Bucky fan.
Bucky fan.
Yeah.
Me too. I had a friend ask me the other day, he's like, well, what's your dream car? I'm like, you know what? Bucky. Any Bucky would do for me. Because, I mean, if you live in Namibia, for example, what the hell do you want to do with a Jaguar or...
Or Aston or something like
yeah,
that.
get your Bucky and enjoy your life. And so, yeah, Elmar, just to explain to everyone how we know each other, I think we met when I was still running the zoo, the Haven Zoological Park in Kleine Cooper here in Windhoek. And at that time, yeah, I mean, we had a little bit of cash flow with the business, but it was still a big challenge. And yeah, unfortunately, I still can't explain the whole deal because of confidentiality and NDAs and everything. But that's how we met. He was assisting in getting investors, people that were interested in investing there. But unfortunately, we got, I don't want to call it scammed, but it wasn't an honest businessman that we were dealing with. So that meant, dishonest negotiations. And sadly, I just kept at least tried to keep my integrity, shared what was happening with Elmar and his client. And yeah, you guys were very understanding about it actually. And because at that time, I think I was like 19 and I was like, oh my God. Because at that point, it was my biggest business failure. Because, you're so close to like a finishing line and you got this one opportunity to deal with people that have some experience with business and that could really help you, guide you, assist you in so many ways. And then now it's just, you brought them a bad egg. That's how I felt. Like, I was like, shit, I am the one responsible for bringing this to them and I brought it to their doorstep. What am I going to do about it? And then, I sat with myself for a day or so and I was like, you know what, just tell them how it happened. The rest, at least you are honest and
It measures what that you should if you want to fail fast. That's if something isn't going as it should be, then the best lesson you can learn from that is just to fail fast. Meaning it's quick and over. Take that lesson and you go on to the next project. And that's you are very harsh on yourself for a 19-year-old at that stage. I knew, I was like, it's just, it's no problem,
No,
it happens.
Yeah. It's probably now that I know a bit more, it probably wasn't your first disappointment in business. It's like, you have at least like 10 of those a year.
No. It's and that's at the end of the day where you start to build up character and grit, and you see something that a project that collapses or a deal that doesn't go through or whatever, you make sure that doesn't change your internal compass. You're on your way somewhere, and then something bad happens, and then that whole thing doesn't destroy you. You take a hit and it's not lacquer. It's like it could have been good. You're already thinking about, yes, this deal goes through. I think I'm not sure if I should choose the white or the khaki.
Maybe like a black
V8 Land Cruiser, but
that nice X5.
You're already scrolling through Ndongo's website, thinking, it's good. I think I'll ask for a quote. But then the deal doesn't go through. And that daydreaming is down the drain, and you're like, okay, well, I should go on to the next one. And that's how you start building, just a bit of a layer to your go on the whole time. You know, something doesn't completely stop you in your tracks.
Yeah, and I think from observation, a lot of the times it happens to a lot of entrepreneurs as well, a lot of businesses. It's like at some point they just stopped, and that's one of the things that if they just kept going, you know, there was. It's like, I don't know if you've seen this meme where a guy is digging for minerals under the ground, and there's like a thin layer of sand that he has to dig, but he's been digging this whole other 10 kilometers, so now he just stops right there, and the diamonds are right behind that last layer, similar to that.
And sometimes you're gonna replace the diamonds with a septic tank, and you know it's just so far from digging into this whole sewage line.
My God. Yeah, sometimes the shit is around the corner. You know.
So no, I think that's a good meme to look at and say, well, listen, you should have some determination, especially when things don't go according to plan. Then you have to say, well, listen, I need to go on and continue, but you have to do that smart. You know, that needs to be blind determination is usually not the way to go, because if you're doing something stupid, then you shouldn't continue doing that.
Okay.
That's a lot of the times when we see, you know, why businesses fail, is we see that there's this blind determination to just continue doing what they're doing, and it's obviously not working. But everybody thinks, well, listen, you know, if my ship comes in, and if, you know, if the economy changes or the war in Ukraine stops, then everything's going to be fine. But that's not how life works. You need to change something internally to change your environment and then move on. So that's something that's very difficult for people to understand.
Interesting. Yeah, I remember when I was going around with you a lot, especially during your meetings and everything, because I remember you had this one client who you were also assisting with the oil and everything, and then, you know, we'd go to the meeting, everyone there's shouting at you, Elmar, we want our money, and then you're like, how do you explain to this client that the bosses you had previously did this and that with your money, and then you're still patient about it, and you're like, okay guys, I will do my best, sometimes even pulling money out of your pocket as well, and then also then, you know, and it was interesting for me to see that, you know, we would go to this meeting, people saying bad things to you, and then they're upset as well, and then the next meeting we go to is a different meeting, you know, the whole mood changes. It's like, so for me, one interesting thing is, how do you deal with these various emotions, you know, because it's basically like this, you know, like, yeah, like, it's like 9 a.m. in the morning, someone is shouting at you, 11:30, now you have to go play, you know, a safe face, smile, we need you, we want you as a client, we've got this to offer, and then you're back again in the afternoon, you have to now drive out and, I don't know, make a plan. So how do you deal with that?
No, it's especially from the business rescue stuff, you know, you are the face of the business, and you also carry the sins of your fathers in that sense, that the creditors and the landlord and the employees, they've got somebody new to shout at now and say, well, listen, the directors did this and this and this, and you owe me X amount, and you bloody well give it now. And that's difficult to not understand their position, because they're angry. They want their money, and then so you've got that empathy with them and say, listen, well, you know, there's a lot of emotion riding on that, and then you pull it back and say, well, guys, listen, I'm here to sort out the problem. You know, so it doesn't actually help you now going off against me or on me or whatever, that I'm part of the solution. So we want a commercial solution at the end, meaning you get your money back, or a portion thereof, whatever. And then when you start, you know, rationalizing that thing, that the argument that they have, and saying, well, guys, this is where we're headed, then it makes it a bit easier to understand their position and to change their mindset. the more difficult ones is, when it comes to creditors, those are creditors that have got it out for the business. They feel aggrieved, and they don't care about the money. They want to harm the business. And you get that. Guys and things saying this is the last time this guy's taken me for a ride. I'm gonna make sure he doesn't stand up again. That's a bit more difficult, because then you're not dealing with a commercial solution. It's an emotional thing, and to swing somebody from there, that takes a lot. How to handle it, after a while, you get some thick skin and just move on from there. You've been shouted at, and there's been some hairy situations where, especially when it comes to the employees, and to a large extent, when dealing with large creditors, banks, receiver of revenue, major suppliers, a few million here, a few million there, that doesn't bother them. It's not an emotional thing. But when it comes to the employees, when you talk to them and then say, but listen, this is the amount you owed, and we can only pay back X amount, or you get 50 cents in the rand or something like that, that's not as easy to do, because it's these guys' livelihoods. It's not like it's going to be a blip on their Q3 financial statements and say, what was the issue regarding that 3 million that we lost there? Oh no, it was that client that didn't pay. If you say, we owe you 6 months' salary and you're only going to get 2 months, that changes a lot of people's perspective, and that's something that changes large portions of their lives. So that's difficult. That's difficult too. So the employees are the ones that you need to have the most empathy with. So that, well, if I take away your salary, then it's you have to go back to your wife and your kids and look them in the eyes. So that's when the emotions are high, especially when you've got a lot of employees. We have had situations where there are 300 employees and 5 union representatives, and the union representatives lose control of the situation. You're sitting there as the BRP having a first meeting of employees, and you have to manage that. And going through each step and calming everybody down, and then seeing, okay, but listen, this is the point they're most aggrieved on, and ring fencing that point, saying, okay, listen, this is what we can do. I think that's I won't say it's a skill, but you learn to do that. Especially if you're, I was a young guy, I think the first one was at 24. You're sitting there wide-eyed with 50 employees in front of you, and now you're responsible for them. And then you start building up from there, and later you see how the system works, how it should be done. So okay. It is a roller coaster.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds like it. I mean, it sounds like the kind of stuff where sometimes you might lose some sleep.
No, you do. And especially when you've got, you have to wake up and your attorney phones you and say, well, listen, there's now, on top of everything that you're dealing with, one of the creditors, they've brought an urgent liquidation application. You should please come. I've booked you for 11 o'clock so we can do the affidavits on your side. And you're sitting there doing the affidavits, go back, manage the business. So that makes it a bit difficult.
What has been, now working with several businesses, what has been something you've noticed that normally when businesses need rescue services, what are they usually doing wrong? What's more common? Most common,
The single largest problem that people have is that I think it's usually a combination of a few things that they do wrong, and then there's one underlying issue usually. Is that they don't understand the business model. So that's like you get into your car and you remove the dashboard completely. You know, the heads up where your speedometer is, your odometer, your fuel gauge, your temperature gauge. You take out everything. You get in the car and say, I'm going to Cape Town because that's where I want to go. And you drive and drive and drive, and then the car stops. You're not sure why. And you just say, well, you know, it's the economy. Economy did this.
Yeah.
And so that image shows us that people don't understand what's going on in their business. They don't understand that their cash position is removed to a large extent from their financial position. That, you know, they're operating businesses from their bank account saying, oh no, we've got cash. And then they forgot, okay, well, I must pay salaries. Okay, no, salaries are fine. Oh, but you must also pay VAT. Oh, well, I forgot about the VAT. No, well, Namara can wait. And then 3 months down the line, they can't pay suppliers. They can't repay the bank account, the bank installment. So lack of information. They don't know what's going on. They don't have a quick access to the stock levels. They don't know why their debtors are sitting at 90 days. They don't understand, okay, well, why are my lead times long on stock? And that problem is usually confounded by taking too much out of the business personally. You know, that's where the X5s and stuff like that, the boats and the houses, beach houses and stuff like that come in. And they're like, yes, no, we're doing well.
The ego
Yeah,
stuff.
we're winning. Look, have you seen my cruiser outside? No, we're definitely winning.
Yeah.
And then they remember, well, you know, I still have that to pay. But then like, nah. Have you checked that cruiser again? No, we're definitely winning. So that's mostly the problem that you have. You know, as the business grows and you've got larger businesses where there are 4 or 5 people on the board, then there's a bit more accountability to that stuff. But that still remains the core problem, is that people don't have visibility downwards. They don't have that internal visibility saying, okay, well, listen, we've got issues sitting here. Because they don't see. If we go back to the car metaphor, so the vehicle has now stopped, but they don't know, is it a tire that got a puncture and ran down? Is it a oil temperature problem? Meaning, is that oil temperature too high? Do we even have oil in there? Is it the fuel? Or is it some type of mechanical breakage? And because they don't have information, they don't understand that. That can be where they said, well, listen, that car wasn't even to go to Rehoboth, but you were thinking of driving it to Cape Town. So from the get-go, you knew, or you should have known that thing couldn't have gone that far. And then they come to us and say, well, listen, you know, the economy is bad. No, the economy wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. You could have made this work, but you didn't have the information at your fingertips. And that's where they say, well, we're only going to pay a bookkeeper or auditor. You know, we only pay them once a year because that's our necessary expense. Why would we need to know what's going on in this vehicle? And that's usually where the problems come in. Then the bank says, well, listen, you guys aren't paying. Please give us a cash flow. And then they run back to us and say, well, the bank needs a cash flow. I said, but why would we can generate the cash flow and we can build you a model, but you should know that. You should know what's going on in your business. And they say, well, we don't. And then we say, well, ta-da, there's your issue. Then we need to teach that, say, well, listen, this is what you need to know what's going on in your business. Even if you're a 2-person mom and pop shop, understand where your cash is going. Understand fundamentally, am I making a profit? go back to that business 101, you know, am I making a gross profit? Deduct all your expenses. Am I making a net profit? And if you're not, then change something. So that's a long story short to where they should say, like, listen, okay, visibility.
Yeah.
Have that information on hand.
You already know what this is. 100,000 followers on YouTube, this is what you get for it. So we already have the proof to show for our work. Now you want to start your podcast, video production, content creation, but you obviously don't want to waste your money. That's why you've got to work with a team that already knows what it's doing. Find us at Pro Studio. You already know it for yourself. This is hard work. See you then. It's surprising because I always think back to this one girl. I was at a seminar, and she was presenting her business idea. It was, you know, people trying out small things, and she was baking cookies and selling cookies in the township. So she was presenting to the class like, this is what I did over the weekend. And she came with a business numbers on the board, and she wrote down, I bought ingredients for $100. Then I sold my cookies and I made $70. In her mind, she made money. And then later on, when we were sitting, and now the class teacher is explaining everything, she's explaining to her, you made nothing at all, you made a loss. And I was so surprised that I thought this was basic things to know, but it's surprising actually how many people don't understand that side of business as well, that, you know, the money that comes in is not what you've made.
No,
you still have a lot of other calculations to make. So,
no, definitely. And unfortunately, you know, you can extrapolate that back to it's not only that one girl baking cookies that fails that, but you can pull that back to guys sitting with MBAs saying, why isn't this working? And then everybody's like, okay, well, the basics aren't in place. You know, you're not making a gross profit, and they've got a lot more arguments to rationalize that. Yeah, but you know, there's in Q3 we'll have a bump there, and then you know, you need to rework the amortization, and then you know, then we're sitting with a profit. So there's a lot of things that we can do, but at the end of the day, you know, you need to make more money than you spend money, and to get to that point, you know, it shouldn't be a difficult task or a complex task to get there. Yeah, you'll have a bit more rows in your Excel sheet to get there, but at the end of the day, that should be the basics.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think hopefully our listeners are listening attentively. Have you ever been robbed before?
Robbed?
Yeah.
Let me think. I was scammed once. When I was first year.
Was it a forex trader?
No. It wasn't something as complex. The guy told me, I was still doe-eyed and thinking that the world was, you know, sunshine and rainbows. And the guy told me on campus, he said, well, you know, I need $200 because my wife is in a hospital in Rustenburg, and I'm driving a Jeep Wrangler, and I need $200 to get to put petrol in my Jeep Wrangler. And I didn't think, you know, why should drive a Jeep Wrangler? Why would you need $200? You know, and I was thinking, yes, you know, I'm the good Samaritan. Went to the ATM, drew him $200, you know, and I gave it to him, telling my mates, saying, listen, help this guy. Yeah. They laughed at me.
They laughed at you?
They were scammed. I was like,
what? The Jeep Wrangler wasn't good enough for you to get it?
No. They said, like, think as you know, I was coming from Namibia, and
you could have said Corolla or something.
Yes. So I was like, okay, no, so I was scammed. So no, I wasn't robbed. Luckily not at gunpoint or knife point or whatever, but I was scammed.
Yeah, that's a funny one actually. But I mean, how was your time living in South Africa? I think South Africa people Sadly, there's a lot of bad stuff going on about South Africa that people speak about, but I still think it's a lovely place to live in. Of course, it's always dependent on where you are, but I think you've also had some time where you lived in South Africa as well, and I think, y- yeah,
South Africa I lived there for 10 years.
yeah,
No, longer, 15 years.
hmm
And it's a nice place. It's very different from Namibia. It's a lot more violent.
yeah,
That's not something that we can even debate.
yeah.
South Africa is violent.
Oh.
The crime rate's higher. There's it's a lot more aggressive. Driving from one part of Windhoek to another, and nobody's gonna swear at you.
Yeah, of
There,
course.
it's almost a requirement. Yeah, you're driving.
You have to be tough for the
Yes,
street. Yeah.
yes. So,
Did you carry? Like, were you armed?
oh yes, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's something that you quickly learn in South Africa, that you're armed, and that's something that pulled through to Namibia.
Yeah.
I'm armed now, so
Oh my God, I'm not gonna mess with you today. Yeah.
no, usually when people, I don't want to freak out the listeners. But
Crazy. That is crazy. Oh my
usually when I'm at the doctor, I think it happened twice. They say, no, well, take off your shirt. And I'm like, okay, doctor, not to freak you out.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to put my pistol there. They say, you what?
Your what?
I said, my pistol.
Yeah.
So, oh, okay, well.
It's like,
okay.
what's that? Is that some kind of a disease?
Yeah. Listen, we'll treat your pistol. No. So, no, that's something that pulled through from South Africa. There's, I don't know if it's a psychological thing or whatever, but it's not as prevalent in Namibia to be armed.
Yeah.
But
I was watching a video where they were making jokes about how to survive in South Africa if you're a newcomer. And then the guy was saying, if you're walking down the street and someone says, I like your shoes, run.
Yeah.
They like your shoes so much that they want to take them from you. That's what they're trying to say. If someone says, what's the time? Do not tell them the time. Run.
Don't take a... What's that other meme that I saw where they walk like this?
I know that one. That one.
So
Like looking for signs on how to know if you're about to get robbed.
If you're about to get robbed. I've had friends that my neighbor was tied up in an armed robbery, just 2 meters from our house. Got a few friends that were shot, 2 of them, and then I've got maybe 3 or 4 friends that were mugged. Mugging isn't that bad when you think about it in context. Mugging is better than getting shot and hijacked. But that's not something that's known in Namibia.
They survive.
No. Luckily, nobody died, but they've got the scars to show it.
I mean, it makes for a great story afterwards.
Yeah. Only after.
Only after, after maybe 3 months.
When the physio's done, then you can walk again. So another weird thing was I was putting my child's seat carrier, the seat that they put in the car. And I was struggling with it, and the guy said, "No, man, just put it on behind the passenger seat, not in front of. Put it behind your seat, not in the passenger seat." I said, "No. There's a reason why I put it behind the passenger seat and not behind my seat." And he said, "But why?" I said, "No, if they shoot me, that they don't hit my kid." He's like, "What?" I said, "Oh, sorry, no, that's just a South African thing, you don't. That's how you do it there."
Man,
And that's something brutal. That's not. Namibians don't know that, and it's good to not know that, because there's also a lot of stress and anxiety going around with, even in driving. You're stopping at a robot, and then it's eyes up, swivel. You should not be lackadaisical about it. Yeah, no, we're driving, nothing's going to happen. No, there's a chance that something can happen. And not being paranoid, it's just, how things are there.
So, yeah. And, you start doing things like even when you stop at a robot, you stop with a little bit of distance so that if something happens, you can drive either way out.
Yeah, no, and thinking, this is, my vehicle isn't a target, it's a 2-ton Japanese missile. And people should start thinking about their vehicles as such. It's not like, oh, please, this is what's going to happen. They're standing in front of me. Floor it.
Yeah.
So I don't want to give you
that's intense.
anti-hijack advice. But
that's intense. Maybe you should be in the robbery rescue business. Forget about business.
I'm not built for hand-to-hand combat.
Oh man, yeah, but it is sad that it has to be like that, and I think because it's such a beautiful place, so that
I love it there. It's such a vibrant country, and it's got a lot of energy, but that energy usually goes into the wrong places.
Yeah, I was there. I think when was this? Maybe a few years back, visiting family, and it was nice. I was in Joburg, and yeah, Johannesburg is nice if you're in the right places. It's also something I realized about South Africa is you can also have a good time, but you really need to be always watching out for yourself. And if you do that well enough, you can have a good time. I mean, you have Cape Town, for example. I still want to visit there. But I think, you've got this very nice real estate in Cape Town. You've got foreigners investing this side. And some nice things to experience as well. I think business-wise, South Africa is also a very good country to be in, I don't know.
Yeah, it's still, there's a lot of investment opportunities. It's got a larger economy. And there's a vibrancy to it. And what I saw coming back to Namibia was that Namibians have a tendency to shun South African stuff. Just by, I don't know why, but it's like, okay, but that's how they did in South Africa. Oh, is that what they did in South Africa? Then get the hell out of here because we're doing it the Namibian way. Like, but that's not always the better way. And I understand that you have to be patriotic and be proud of your nation, but learn from other people's mistakes and learn what they do well. And say what maybe the way that we're doing it was cutting edge in the 1970s, but it's not cutting edge anymore. They've got planes and we're still throwing each other with rocks. Maybe we need to move ahead. And that I feel that something that I've seen there, and it shames me, is that sometimes there's a lack of professionalism in Namibia that would not be tolerated in South Africa because it's much more cutthroat there, especially business-wise. Yeah, everybody's just like, okay, well, let it slide. And I said, well, no, we should be better. We should move the bar upwards, not accept that the bar is down here. And people are starting to realize that and saying, well, maybe we should do better, especially with the oil and the gas and that stuff coming in. We cannot do things like it's 1993 anymore. And maybe saying, oh, well, everybody's calm. We've made it this far. Let's just go ahead. So yeah, no, definitely. I would be the last one to badmouth South Africa. I love Namibia. I love staying here. It's I would never leave Namibia.
That's good to know.
No, there's no reason. People immigrating and they've got their own opinion about immigration and saying, well, they're going to Australia or New Zealand. Then I'm like, okay, well, you're going to Australia, and it's the same weather. You're just going to pay more for beer.
Same weather, you pay more for beer. That's funny, man. That's funny. Do you drink beer? What's your favorite beer?
Yes, I drink beer. It's difficult being in Namibia without drinking beer. So in South Africa, Castle Light was the go-to thing there. So no, I drink Windhoek Draft.
Windhoek Draft.
Yeah.
Nah, that's good. That's good. Support local business.
Yes,
as-
well, local business now that the Windhoek of the Namibian breweries is owned by
Heineken.
yeah, so
Yeah.
we're actually supporting the Dutch in a
Yeah,
way.
that actually made me quite sad because I don't even like beer that much, but I was just happy to know that there is a beer in the world there out there that's being done in Namibia and out of the world from Namibia. I might be able to take a sip now and there. Since
Well, what-
since they sold, I haven't drank beer.
Well,
I don't even.
yeah, the other perspective is that we've got such a world-class beer that the likes of Heineken
Yeah.
thought that they listen, we need to buy this one.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that's so top-notch that we would like to have it in our stable.
Yeah.
And that's the perspective from there is that little old Namibia, we produce something that's on a world stage.
Yeah.
And if you think about it from that side, then that should be how we treat anything that we do. It should be world class. We should do it better. If anything that we approach should be that it's little old Namibia or little old me or little old whoever sitting there doing what, do it on a world class level.
Yeah, very interesting perspective. That's a very good way to look at it, actually. I think, of course, there are probably still a lot of Namibian players in there as well.
Yeah,
You
no,
can't.
they and to think about it, and if you use it as a metaphor going forward, if they produce the beer in a country where there's a scarcity of water, that should show you that your resources and what you have should be utilized to such a point that even if you have a small bit of something, that you can use it to accomplish so much. And that's something that we as a country have as grit. We've got this frontier attitude.
Like the oryx.
Yes, precisely. You're this big animal, well, big and comparatively, but you can survive with little water, and the water that you have is utilized to the extreme. And if you take that through to business, that's a good mentality to have. That's good. Don't overspend on luxuries and on your own salary. Use it to build the business. Use the meager cash flow that you have to strengthen your position. And lean and mean ensure survival in the dry years. When COVID came, I don't know if you will be demonetized when me saying that you can bleep it out later post production.
Yeah. No, let's hear it. I'm taking the risk.
Yeah, you had businesses that could survive. Even in industries that were hardest hit, in hospitality and restaurants and those things that had massive restrictions. Why did some businesses survive and others completely collapse? We had businesses that could quickly adapt and shrink their operational expenses, and they could maintain high margins. Even if the income was lower, they could adapt. They could say, well, listen, we are running leaner and meaner now. And those businesses survived and flourished after the pandemic. We had these large businesses that's like this fat pig walking into the desert. Day 2, hour 3, dead. But you had this straathond jakkals going through the desert and ending up in Swartkool. So that's especially true when it comes to people understanding what their business is about, the financials. You say, well, you know what, I've got 60 liters in the tank. If I increase my fuel economy, I can drive 100 k's further. But they know precisely what's happening in their business. They understand this is my cash flow restriction. that tunnel has now closed up. So I need to adapt my business to the changing circumstances. They can only do that if they have their dashboard set up. If they don't have their dashboard, they're just flooring and hoping that they reach whatever destination that they want. But that's not going to happen because you don't have up-to-date information.
Yeah.
And you cannot make decisions quickly.
Yeah. Slow and steady wins the race.
Precisely, but that makes it so that steady part thereof.
Mm-hmm.
Slow and steady means that you are consistent in your direction that you're heading and consistent in your speed. So slow means, you're not going as fast as you should be, but it still means that there's that steady. You know that, listen, this is the direction I'm heading. And the only way that you know that which direction you're heading is that you've got a steady compass, meaning your heading is true.
Understanding your direction.
Precisely.
Yeah. Okay. No. That's very good. Let me take some notes. Yeah. Okay. So I think now that we've been able to sit and chat for a little bit, I think first of all, thank you. It's been very insightful.
100%.
It's always interesting for me to speak to you because we'll be speaking about something is like business, and all of a sudden there's this nice, funny story that you speak about it. I'm like, oh my God, this guy has been through life. And And so now I want to ask also a few more questions and then we can close it off and get to the end. So what are you looking forward to for the next coming years? What can we expect from you?
Well, from my side, our consultancy firm is also expanding. I think we are optimizing how we handle the clients in assisting them to sharpen up their business practices. So getting results quicker. And at the end of the day, improving our return on investment offering to the clients, meaning that we've got a larger effect on their businesses, and that's at the end of the day how they measure our success. The money that we spent on Elmar, are we seeing a return? And that's what we want to increase from our side.
Good. Are there any new projects or any initiatives that you're excited about?
Yes, we've got a few things in the pipeline. Personally, what we're doing is I'm farming 2 days a week.
Oh, you're farming a bit there.
So that's something just to clear the head and we understand we've moved our service offering to large portions of the agricultural sector. And that's a difficult sector to break into if you're not doing it on your own, because you need to understand what the challenges, that set of challenges that these farmers are facing. And it's difficult coming there with shiny shoes and a pinstripe pants set and saying, listen, well, I'm going to teach you how to run your farm. That's something that they don't tolerate. But if you understand the challenges that they face on a daily basis, then you can help and have empathy with that. Then you can add value to the rest of their back office, saying, listen, guys, I understand that the drought's there and that pump hasn't been performing well and you're stressing about the cattle there and the goats on that side. But let me help you understand your strategic position. Let me understand your relationship with the bank, your relationship with NAMRA, your relationship with your suppliers. And then they start saying, well, this guy knows our operational worries. So let's start to learn from what he can provide us on a strategic level.
Okay.
So,
yeah, good. What's the craziest thing you've done for a client?
Well, we had to take out some creditors.
This one we're going to flip.
No, we just give me 2 seconds to think about that. No, I wasn't. I shouldn't incriminate myself.
You're taking problem solving to the next level.
No, we. What's that meme? You know, I got that thing on me.
Sounds like a line on a song or something. Yeah.
No, you know, you always go above and beyond for your clients, and it's difficult to pinpoint one thing and say, well, listen, you know, that was crazy, but you know, there's been some crazy situations. We've been locked in a furniture factory in close to Durban.
Really?
Yeah, by the staff.
Uh-huh.
So the staff locked us in there, me and the management team and the other business rescue.
For how long?
It was about 8 hours. So they shut off the power, and that was it got quite toasty in there. Being it was summer.
Yeah.
It was a week before my wedding.
Oh.
And then so there was no aircon in there, and it was about 42 degrees, and we had to close all the windows. So we were there about 8 hours. The police didn't arrive. So that was one of the more interesting aspects of the business.
Crazy.
But yeah, luckily everything was sorted afterwards. But it was what did they call it? A labor relations dispute.
Labor relations disputes. That is that is quite something. Yeah, you get to know the clients very closely. Yeah, 8 hours. What are some strategies that you're using now in the consulting space to have you given a competitive advantage? I don't know if you have a lot of competitors in the marketplace, but you know, what are some new things that you're looking to explore? You've spoken about software or better making the service a bit quicker. Anything else that you?
So our main competitive advantage is that we walk the walk, meaning that in the turnaround industry, which is in its infancy in Namibia, we've got the experience to what we tell clients is not something that's new to us. We don't sell snake oil. We don't BS the clients, and that makes the advice harsh. It's harsh because we've seen this hundreds of times. We've got our group is backed up by experience through all industries, and I've seen everything from, you know, pharmaceuticals, logistics, IT, manufacturing, all the way down. So our advantage lies in the fact that there's very little we haven't seen, and that provides an edge above guys that are, you know, moonlighting and, you know, just banding about advice, saying that they're turnaround experts. We are certified. We've got a regulatory body that governs what I do, and that's our claim to fame. Yeah. So it's easy to just be a soothsayer and saying, well, you know, I can look into my magic ball and tell you what's wrong with your business, but to have actually gone through years and years of, you know, seeing businesses fail and having some failures as well. You know, it doesn't help you saying, you know, this is what you're doing wrong, and haven't seen and felt that, listen, this is how I could not turn around that business. Any guy that tells you, no, we've just had successes, you know, then you should like that guy saying, well, I like your shoes, you should run.
Or like the guy asking for $200.
Yeah. No, then you should just like,
you should just go the other way. Yeah, no, that's good. I think I know you read a lot as well. I think it's safe to say you are somewhat of a decent negotiator. So, what kind of which books have had a lasting impact on you for your negotiation skills?
Um, the one that I would recommend is The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene.
Yeah.
So he's written 3 other books. I think it's 33 Strategies of War. And then there's one about some laws of seduction, which I haven't read, but the 48 Laws of Power and 33 Strategies of War. That's something that that thing can rest on your table and you'll refer back to it the whole time. Because that provides a blueprint on why people react and act the way they do. And if you really want to go with Robert Greene, the 51st Law of Power, which he did with 50 Cent. And he analyzed 50 Cent's rise to fame, through his criminal years up till getting shot and going on about that. That's a good read because it pulls in an autobiography of a rapper, and I like rap, and puts it into perspective of how this guy changed the way he operates, and goes to.
I'm so sorry. Like, I'm trying to keep a straight face, but this guy behind here, he keeps dancing, making funny dance moves.